Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. RHONJ's Teresa Giudice says she doesn't want to be known as the table flipper. For better or worse, Teresa Giudice has been the glue that has held the Real Housewives of New Jersey together since its launch in 2009. While the rest of the original cast departed, she has been on the show for 14 seasons straight and racked up countless memorable moments over the years. However, the moment that sent the ratings soaring and increased recognition for RHONJ was Teresa flipping the table during the freshman finale during a fiery argument with Danielle Staub. It's ingrained in pop culture because it was so shocking. There was nothing quite like it on reality TV then, so it makes sense that it's still talked about all these years later. Plus, it's possible that RHONJ wouldn't have lasted as long without everyone talking about the moment, because word of mouth undoubtedly helped. In a recent interview with Us Weekly, the RHONJ OG explained her thoughts on the moment and how she doesn't want to be remembered for being the table flipper. Teresa seems embarrassed that her husband, Louis Rulis, is constantly reminded of her past because people say, "He's married to the table flipper." "I don't want to be known as that, but they love it," the 52-year-old shared. Of course, Teresa has been caught up in other moments on the show that have caught a lot of attention, but the table flip is definitely one of RHONJ's most defining moments. However, it makes sense that she would want to distance herself from it because it occurred so long ago. Teresa's future on RHONJ is up in the air for the first time as producers aim to give the show a revamp sorts. Details about which cast members are returning have not been determined, but the aim seems to be to remove the toxicity. Teresa has been caught up in much of that in recent years. Still, there may be bigger fish to fry, such as Danielle Cabral and Jennifer Aydin, who were both suspended from filming following a physical altercation while shooting season 14. Either way, Teresa is staying booked and busy in the off-season, which is more than can be said for some of her co-stars. She's appearing in House of Villains Season 2, which premiered earlier this week. The series puts a string of well-known reality TV villains together in a house as they attempt to win a strategic and competitive game. Teresa also recently announced her plan to open a restaurant with her daughter, Giudice. If Teresa isn't asked back for the next chapter of RHONJ, she has many exciting opportunities in the works. Teresa Giudice sat back in her plush chair, a delicate smile playing at the corners of her lips. The cameras buzzed around her, capturing every blink, every gesture, as they had for over a decade. She was no stranger to this world, the lights, the fame, the drama. It had been a whirlwind, a chaotic roller coaster of emotions and betrayals. But somewhere along the way, Teresa had become a staple in the Real Housewives of New Jersey, RHONJ universe. Her face was synonymous with the show, her name echoed in living rooms across America. Yet there was one title that seemed to follow her, a moniker she had grown to despise over the years: the table flipper. Teresa sighed as she thought about that moment, the infamous table flip that had, for better or worse, cemented her as a household name. It had been a wild night, emotions running high, and before she even knew what she was doing, her hands gripped the edge of the table, and in one swift motion, she sent dishes, glasses, and accusations flying across the room. People still talked about it over a decade later. The moment had gone viral before going viral was even a thing. Memes, GIFs, and YouTube clips immortalized it. Fans who hadn't even seen the original episode knew about it, heard about it, referenced it. The table flip had become its own entity, larger than Teresa herself. It was her legacy, or at least it was what everyone thought was her legacy. But Teresa had grown, changed. She had been through so much since that night: trials, tribulations, losses, and triumphs. The table flip. It felt like a lifetime ago, a version of herself she no longer recognized. And yet, no matter how much she tried to move forward, the world seemed determined to keep her anchored to that one explosive moment. "I don't want to be known as the table flipper," she had confessed in an interview earlier that week. The words had rolled out with an unexpected weight, like a truth she hadn't fully realized until she said it aloud. "I'm so much more than that." Sitting here now, the reality of it all settled into her chest like a stone. Teresa's life had been a spectacle for the world to see, dissect, and judge. But behind the glitz, behind the feuds and dramatic reunions, she was a mother, a daughter, a friend, and a survivor. Her journey was one of resilience and reinvention. The show, for all its chaos, had been a double-edged sword, providing her with fame, but often at the cost of her true self being overshadowed by her reality TV persona. She thought about her 4 daughters, Gia, Gabriella, Melania, and Adriana. They were growing up in a world where their mother was more than just a figure on TV. They were the reason Teresa had fought so hard through her challenges, the reason she had emerged stronger each time life tried to knock her down. "I want to set an example for my girls," she said to herself softly. "They need to see that you can evolve, that you don't have to stay the person the world expects you to be." The cameras were getting ready to roll again, a break in the filming of the new season. Teresa adjusted her dress, smoothing out imaginary wrinkles as she prepared to dive back into the drama that RHONJ always seemed to bring. But even as she prepared for the inevitable conflicts, the messy dinners and confrontations that had become a hallmark of the series, she felt a shift inside herself. Yes, there would always be drama. This was reality television, after all. But Teresa was determined to show a different side of herself now, a side that wasn't defined by the past. She had built businesses, written books, and shared her story of survival with the world. She had fought through legal battles, gone through a highly publicized divorce, and faced personal loss, all while trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy for her family. The table flip had been a moment of weakness, a split second where her frustration and anger had boiled over. It wasn't something she was proud of anymore. Sure, at first, it had felt like a badge of honor, a symbol of her fierce loyalty and unwillingness to back down. But now, it felt limiting, like a caricature of who she really was. Teresa leaned forward, clasping her hands together as she prepared for the next scene. This season, she knew, was going to be different. She was still fiery, still passionate, but she wanted to be known for something else, for her strength, her perseverance, her journey from chaos to calm. The table flip was just one chapter in her story, but it wasn't the whole book. "I want people to see me for who I am now," she said, almost to herself, but loud enough for one of the producers to overhear. The producer, a woman who had been with the show since its early seasons, gave her a nod. "I think they will, Teresa. You've been through a lot, and people can see that." The scene resumed, and as Teresa entered the conversation with her co-stars, she could feel the tension in the air. There would be fights, sure. There would be moments of heated words and passionate defenses. But this time she promised herself she wouldn't be flipping any tables. This time she would handle things differently. Later that night, after the cameras had stopped rolling and the housewives had gone their separate ways, Teresa sat in her home, a glass of wine in hand. She scrolled through social media, seeing fans still discussing the table flip, still referring to her as the Queen of Drama. She shook her head with a small, amused smile. "Let them talk," she whispered, setting her phone aside. "I know who I am." She was Teresa Giudice, a woman who had been through hell and back, a mother who would do anything for her daughters, and yes, a reality TV star who had flipped a table once upon a time. But she was also more than that, a woman determined to rise above her past, to be known for her strength, her resilience, and the person she had become. The table may have flipped, but Teresa, she was still standing.